if we've taken anything from this, the main thing is it really is a testament to people that find ways to just make a name for themselves and continue to push no matter what the industry throws at you. So I think adaptability is the name of the game. And then the second thing is everyone needs to go watch Paddington 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Real Deal Landman Show. Prior to doing our intro here, Drew was talking movies. So what did you see, Drew, that you're bursting at the seams to tell the public about?
I do really appreciate that we're transitioning the Real Deal Landman Show just to a movie review site. Like, I mean, people kind of anticipated that, I think, but
eventually it was going to happen.
Eventually, after a couple of years of this, we knew where this was going. So, no, like one of the big things of the summer was like it's 107 degrees in Oklahoma right now. You want to be indoors at all costs, and one of the things that everybody's doing is going to the movies. Big movie hit this summer is The Odyssey, and I was just number one, curious if anybody had seen that, if you guys had seen that, because we went to an IMAX showing here and loudest movie I've ever been to in my life. Hands down. Loudest.
Did you see it in 70 millimeter?
See it in what?
Did you see it in like that 70 millimeter format that they're touting?
So here's the thing. So like, I guess there's only 40 IMAX theaters that have the 70 millimeter like worldwide. And I think like Houston or Dallas, I believe has one. Seattle's got one. There's a few in the States. Everybody else, like we saw it in IMAX, like 70 digital, which instead of it actually being film, it's just on a really extra large screen that they're doing with like a digital copy of it. So I actually did talk to one buddy who's like a film buff, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you didn't see it in the correct format." And I'm like, if I can put them side by side and you can tell me which one is which, like fantastic. But it was really cool. I mean, it was a Christopher Nolan epic for sure. But like, I mean, I can't tell you enough. I can't stress this enough. It was the loudest thing. And maybe it's because I'm getting older, but it was unbelievable.
By the time this comes out, I will have seen it. It is my understanding that Colorado Springs just rolled out one of the true IMAX theaters, and they were rushing to get it done for this movie coming out. At least that's the story that I've heard. The fun thing about this is that you can't really give away any spoilers because obviously this is a written works. I was not a very smart person in high school, and I'm still not a very smart person. But it's funny that you bring it up because last night I was doing an AI deep dive, like, okay, help me understand the story. Who is who? Where did this come from? Who are the characters? So I feel pretty prepared at this point to watch it, but I don't think you're alone, Drew. I have heard that the volume is a national or worldwide complaint. Like it's a true experience, but it's also the loudest thing that anybody has ever heard.
It's the
like
loudest.
Explosions loud or like scare you, shock you explosions or that, or like just overall 100% of the film.
Trying to make like without of course without giving away any of the really amazing scenes, but like the scene with the Cyclops is amazing because they used like a huge like 65-foot puppet. I think everybody's heard, and it's so much practical effects and it's just absolutely crazy. Well, in the case of them escaping the cave and causing a little distress to our Cyclops friend, it's like screaming bloody murder, and it's like it's in the room next to you or in your face next to you. It's just it's crazy. And the like sound of the boat, on the water and just like everything, it's just from start to finish, it's just a very loudly mixed.
I feel like the old man in me is grouchy about these movies that like the fight scene's super loud and then they get commentary and it's like, I've got to turn on the closed captions and stuff. And so now I'm just that old man that's just watching everything on closed captions and reading the bottom and not watching this amazing piece of artwork here. But yeah, I hadn't seen it. I read the books, and like you said, in high school, I guess I know what happens, but it seems like it's gonna be cool. I saw Matt Damon went on like a crazy fixed
Media
diet lunch.
campaign or whatever. Oh yeah, he did.
And then my most favorite thing, honestly, tie-in was when they bring Matt Damon up during the World Cup and they say, "Look, it's Brad Pitt." They like zoom in on him in the crowd and they call him Brad Pitt. Which, I mean, that's a pretty good dude. I would love to get. I guess that's a good guy to get called or confused with. But
I mean, I think any one of the three of us have probably been confused for somebody else, but none of it has been Brad Pitt.
never.
That's too bad.
Never Brad.
Are you guys mostly like if we're talking movie stuff, are you guys action movie buff like first or comedy? What's the genre that everybody goes with?
I'm sort of all over.
I mean, as an example, it's not what I obsess over, but as an example, I could watch any of those Marvel movies any day and multiple times and be totally satisfied. I mean, the less thought that is required, the better off I'm going to be.
Okay, so less thought. Okay, Rhett, what about you?
I don't know. I'm not for some reason thrillers get me. I like them, but they also get me like really uptight and afraid I'm gonna like accidentally punch somebody when they walk up on me on accident because I get kind of uptight about them. But I like them. I like Departed's one of my favorite movies. I like old classic films. You know, top 100 top film. I like some of that old stuff. I like war movies. I like stuff that's tied in with docudramas and history and stuff like that is cool. Dunkirk was another wildly loud movie. I don't know if you ever saw that.
That was Christopher Nolan, right?
Yeah, there's tons of film of him in the plane, and it's like the loudest thing ever. But I don't know.
Nolan's just deaf.
I like action. I like comedy. I like kind of indie films. I like a lot of Tarantino stuff, or
Yeah. So
I like my music choices. I'm a little all over.
You're a little all over, but not to put you on the spot with it. But if you were saying your top three, like your desert island, stuck, only having 3 movies to watch on repeat.
Wow. Okay, one of them. I got cable shut off my last semester at my my college house, and I only had 2 DVDs, and like Superbad DVD was in my DVD player for about 9 months. So that's a classic. I'll throw Superbad in there. I already said The Departed, so I'll throw that out. And then I don't know. I'm named after Rhett Butler, so I'll say Gone with the Wind to like bring a classic on it.
And really, classic in there. I like it. I definitely like it. Yeah, those are a good 3. Jairus, you got any positive 3 that we cannot miss?
Okay, so I started off by saying it has to be little thought. However, that said, pretty much any Christopher Nolan movie, Hans Zimmer soundtrack with it is, that's a favorite movie. So let's say Dark Knight.
Yes, mine for sure, 100%.
Either Interstellar or Inception. I'm not sure which one.
That's a lot of thought.
Yeah, and then to come full circle, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Okay.
Very nice.
I mean, which is an adaptation of the Odyssey. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. We have rocked Drew's world just now.
Like I had forgot about that. And I had heard somebody else say it not too long ago. And I'm thinking about all the different scenes that...
Yeah, the sirens in the river and everything else. That's
so
all
good.
tied in.
Did you guys watch Project Hail Mary?
Watched it.
Yeah.
Liked it. Did you see that, Rhett?
That's an awesome one. That's a really good one, too.
I haven't seen that.
It's really good.
It's pretty solid.
It's on Prime now.
I have a 5-year-old.
It's fantastic.
So, you guys... So
I got other movies, it's like... I didn't see Toy Story 5. He went and saw it with his mom, but I was working that day or something. But I probably would have liked that. I think Mary cried a few times or something. They're usually tearjerkers on Toy Story. I don't know. Movies I like going to the movies, but there's not as many in Houston as you would think. I work downtown and live sort of central. I feel like the movie theaters are more out into the burbs a little bit. So I've been a few times, but My numbers are low. I need to work on them.
You're too busy. You're too committed to the cause, Rhett. I'm telling you, you got to keep that company moving forward. Don't have time to be watching these movies like the rest of us.
We're trying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Drew, give us your 3 and then give us a proper introduction of our guest.
I can do both. So
Okay.
You already said one that is my probably absolute favorite, and that's The Dark Knight. I'm a huge Batman nerd. Loved Batman all growing up, and I thought that movie was flawless. I don't think there's any scene in it that I can't just absolutely repeat. Love that movie. Second one is that Tom Hardy Mad Max Fury Road. I thought Mad Max Fury Road was awesome. Like, it was so well done all the way through it, and like practical effects again, like we were kind of talking about earlier. And then my third one, completely off, but more on the kid side, Paddington 2 is maybe one of the greatest movies that's ever been made. And that's like full stop. It's got everything. It's the best feel-good movie of all time, and I won't hear a bad word said about it.
Well, I won't say anything.
Well, you've got a 5-year-old. Have you introduced the Paddington?
I need to blow his mind with Paddington 2.
I'm putting that out there to the entire Real Deal Landman universe that we've got. I don't think there's not a better 90 minutes. The best feel good. We all need feel good stuff, and it may be the best feel good movie of all time.
Okay, I haven't seen any Paddington movies. Why is number 2 so much better than the original?
I can't explain that to you, Jairus. I just have to tell you have to see it. It's just cast perfectly. It's just like a tug at your heartstrings thing. It's so good. And you're like, Drew, how old are your kids? I don't have any kids.
Maybe that the sequel is better than the first one.
No, yeah, it's the Empire Strikes Back of the Paddington series. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's too good. I can't tell you enough. I think it's like Rotten Tomatoes score. I think it's 100 out of 100. Like, I don't really care.
No way.
What? It is. I mean, look it up. Look it up right now. Challenge me. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. So Christopher Nolan directed it, I think. That's not true. But
that is not true.
While you're looking this up, I just want to transition and say we're really happy to be able to have Rhett Reeves on today from Riverbend Exploration. And I've known Rhett for quite a while, and he is a fantastic guy, great landman, and we wanted to be able to have him on and be able to talk about his story. So Rhett, we're really glad that you're here. You have been a Texan native your whole life, is that right?
Yeah, all but 2 years I lived in Puerto Rico, and a year and a half or so I lived in Shreveport.
No. So growing up in Houston?
I grew up in a little town called Palmer, which is 30 minutes south of Dallas in Ellis County. It's on I-45.
Did you have a lot of oil and gas around you growing up?
My dad was in the oil field in the 80s, and then transitioned to ranching, and then ended up doing civil engineering at the end of his career. So I had some ties to it from that. My granddad was an attorney that did some oil and gas work, but that wasn't his primary focus. I wouldn't consider him an oil man.
Whenever you saw your granddad and dad doing it, did that push you in college to go into any oil and gas route, or was it not really at like the front of your mind then?
I went to Baylor undergrad. I studied marketing and real estate there. And I ended up with just a general MBA at Texas Tech later down the line. So I don't have like a PLM or an energy commerce degree. I just did it through the standard school of hard knocks on figuring out how to do it and learning from mentors and trial and error, and which I think sometimes can be better. Some of the best landmen in the world I know did come out of those PLM programs. I got started I came out of school in 08, 09, housing bubble had just occurred. You hop out of school and you think, okay, I'm going to immediately start making 6 figures and it'll all be perfect from there. And I actually went into working with the group that my dad worked with because there was like no jobs hiring. And so I took a job standing in concrete pouring foundation piers for 6 or 8 months while I was looking around. But I was working in DFW, 08, 09, pretty primo time for Barnett Shale. There was a Chesapeake broker called Dale Operating at the time. There were some mutual friends of my wife and I's that were working there. And so I took a job doing that and was hired on the spot, but I would have taken a job for a lot less than what they offered me, which I think at the time was like $200 a day. Not great now, but at the time I was like
You're
thrilled
rolling.
about it. I was wealthy. And so I became like a door knocking urban leasing guy at the first of my career. And there was, little houses that we were out leasing and doing title on. You just kind of get thrown to the wolves and they're like, go get leases, go run title. And they, you maybe get somebody that you shadow for a little while and learn how to do it. There was mass amounts at those big brokerages of people. It wasn't super hard for me to outshine some of these folks. They would do these like mass hirings and then even bigger mass like firings, and then let the cream kind of rise to the top. And so I don't know, 4 or 5 months in of me knocking on doors. And I mean, I did community meetings at churches and did mass lease signings. It came pretty naturally to me. It's talking to people and being respectful and earning their trust and negotiating and getting to know what's important for the other side and figuring out how to get to yes. And so few months in, working there, they asked me if I wanted to go and open up a Eagleford office for them. We were in the heart of it right there in Carnes and DeWitt area. They ended up deciding to shut that office down 6 months in. Moved back to Fort Worth for a few months. My wife, in the meantime, was working in Shreveport, and then asked them if they'd transfer me over there so we could be closer. And so lived there for a year and a half. I was kind of doing my own title and going after kind of larger tracts on the outskirts of the city and in the southern part of Caddo and into DeSoto Parish. Mary and I, after a year and a half of me being there and 3 years of her being there, found another potential role, more of like a traditional brokerage role. So we went to work for a group called Petro Land Group out of Tyler. And so we ended up living in Austin for 9 years. Loved our time there, made a million friends, love all the water there. People always ask me if I miss Austin, and I miss my like core group of friends that are there. I've made that many and more here in Houston. So yeah, we moved on to like running land crews and being a traveling land couple. Most of the time we were in the same places. We spent like nearly 3 years working around like the Lubbock area and the Central Basin platform for Anadarko and Apache, ENEXP and a few others. But randomly, we were in Lubbock for a long time. And I was checked into the Residence Inn for 363 days straight. So 2 days short of a calendar year.
Holy cow.
The client agreed to it so that we wouldn't have to bring all our you don't have an office, so you got to bring your monitor and your printers and everything else.
Did the inside of the Residence Inn just look like a house after? I mean, like most of the time it's kept up pretty nice, are they still doing room service every day?
Yeah.
Cleaning everything?
Yeah, I ended up getting to where I got to be really good friends with the
sure
housekeeper. Obviously, I gave her a Christmas present that year because that's a lot of house cleaning.
That is.
We were cooking a lot at the room. This one was like one that had stairs that you went up to on the outside and entered into like separate little building, just like an apartment.
Okay.
Our whole crew is out there, and so the dynamic of running crews where there's guys that are your dad's age on the crew, and you're having to check their work and make sure they're billing right and whatever, all the dynamics that come with being a field landman. I wouldn't like trade that for anything though, because I learned a ton through that. You meet some really great people. You find problems that you never could even think existed. Complex title. It made me really good at like handling brokerages for diligence and understanding the hurdles and the roadblocks that they have either through technology or travel or pace or the way that stuff's assigned out to them and communicated to them. But, we were very lucky to have always stayed in work through that time period. I mean, we had some tough stretches. We were defrauded, for example, by a group. There was 140 land guys working on a project out in the Midland Basin that the the ringleader forged some money, his backers' documents, and convinced a few people. A buddy of mine that was on my crew got a job over there and brought me over to have a C-suite role over there. Mary came over as well. We lived in like the Hotel Settles in Big Springs, which is an awesome hotel, but not when you end up not getting paid for the nights there.
Wow.
So we had some hiccups like that. But when you're looking back, there was red flags that I probably should have seen and could have seen. I didn't do enough diligence on the guy in the first place. So, in the end, the guy's serving a decade or a couple decades of time in the federal prison.
You guys keep in touch?
Pen pals?
Yeah, no, I'm not sending him. I'm not donating to his commissary. Back in 2014, I was kind of wanting a change. I was wanting to try to get into something more corporate. There wasn't a lot going on in Austin. But there were some, like Jones was there back then. Parsley was there back then. Texas American. Meridev was one of them, which was a Delaware basin operator that was backed by NCAP. I saw a position open online. And just like a lot of things, I applied. I don't hear anything. I follow back up. I believe that I even sent like handwritten letters with resumes and beyond, all the things that we do to try to get recognized. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have had to do it too. Like anybody that's been through a job hunt, it's humbling. Like it's very,
Absolutely.
very humbling. And you've got to have this big view of yourself to be able to sell yourself and to get people to believe in you and take a chance on you. But at the same time, there's this guy on your other shoulder that's like, you don't qualify for that job, right? You shouldn't make that much money. I'm thinking, can you do this? And so I bet I sent 200 resumes around. So eventually what I did is I suited and booted and rolled in with resumes to Meredith's office, which was just a handful of miles down the road, one Friday. And, I get there and I'm like, yeah, I'm here to talk with Noah. And it was VP of Land. And you have an appointment? And, you just are like, yeah, I got an appointment. I'm ready to talk to him. And then they came back and, well, he's tied up today, and so I did that 4 Fridays in a row, suited up, different kind of tie shirt combos. Finally, the 4th time he came back and he was like, man, that was like borderline psychotic, but impressively persistent. And so we sat down and talked for a little while and he offered me like to come in and prove myself. Then, the rest is history. I started working there. So I was on their land team working their Ward County asset that they ended up only having for, I think, 11 months all in before they sold it to Khaled. That was my first kind of exposure to rapid build, put a bow on it and get everything pretty and take it to market type of process. One of my favorite stories from that exit, Khaled gave them a allocation schedule by tract. There's like a 90-day diligence period or whatever it was. And then there was another period after that where they said, we want more. Do y'all have stuff that you're close with, but that you don't have under contract? And so I made this list of everything we were going after, and they gave allocation to that stuff. And so we added like $40 million worth of value during that period. But it was great to see all those people, get excited. Like they sold it before they had hit the year mark. And so because of the price that the market was telling they could get, they agreed to short-term capital gains, which is a big difference tax-wise. I think they did like a 6+X on the deal. And so, you see that and you're like, okay, I need some more of this. And, let's go on to the next one. And I don't know, 2 weeks later, we started going after Lee County stuff and they got to piecing that asset together. And that asset was very different. There's lease sales, both state and federal. There's not as much fee ownership in New Mexico, so there wasn't as much like organic stuff that I could go after. In the end, the way my tenure at Ameridev wrapped up, they didn't necessarily need a ton of like BD and growth because they had their like chunky, perfect long block.
Yeah.
And so, towards the end, they told me that we were going to part ways. And, similar to what I was saying earlier, here comes imposter syndrome again. And you start thinking, I had done really good there. Where do I go now? Since that point, and from when I first started there, several of those Austin companies closed shop or went bankrupt or were sold or were purchased. So there was less opportunities there. So I went back to doing field land work again. And then my broker at the time put me in contact with Riverbend. They needed like a kind of a self-starter, one land guy to go after, to quickly do cursory lease checks and title on their own, and then go take leases in the Midland Basin out in front of their operated position. I'd like to think I was fairly paramount in helping them put together what's Riverbend 7, which is their second operated piece, backed by Kane Anderson, and put together a 1280 there called Honey Badger in Upton County. And so that's my lead up to Riverbend. It wasn't quite as like bootstrap of a story as the way that I got on with the AmeriDev, but still important. I came in and had an interview, and immediately from the interview, I changed out of my suit in my car out in a open lot in Houston in the middle of the spring and drove to Guadalupe Mountains and went backpacking for like 7 days. And when I got back, there was a note saying that they wanted to hire me and wanted to talk about it. And so it's a cool way to come back into service, is that phone service, is that your interview went well and they want to hire you.
That's amazing. There's so much in there, Rhett, that shows what a self-starter you've been and somebody that just is absolutely committed to it. One of the things that I like is your wife, Mary. So she got into oil and gas at the same time that you did. Did you guys kind of at the exact same time?
Yeah, pretty close. She actually has been a landman for 2 weeks longer than myself, or at least in the industry. Just like people took a chance on me, took a chance on her. And, she's been doing it for 16, 17 years now. There's a lot of husband wives in our space. And those, sometimes it's like, holy crap, all our eggs are literally in like the smallest basket ever. What am I doing? Like when oil was negative 26 or when oil goes to 50.
Yeah.
9 months ago or whatever. And you're looking around, and there's also a lot of benefits to that. Like her reputation lifts me up, and I hope vice versa.
That's awesome.
And, and so we have a lot of common friends. I mean, I feel like I'm essentially in all the women in organizations in Houston and otherwise because of Mary. And admittedly, I take the time to know all those powerful women in our space as well. But it's super helpful for me. And I think in turn for Riverbend, I think Riverbend gets a decent amount of benefit out of that too. But yeah, she's still an independent. She works for a group called Dogwood which is out of Tyler, mostly Permian Basin stuff, but she'll do kind of work wherever. She's done East Texas and she's done South Texas. And so, yeah, oil and gas power couple, I guess.
I think there's absolutely something to be said. Like, and you're right. Like, there's a lot of oil and gas like couples for sure, but like to be able to go that whole journey and to be able to be going out and doing the running title and everything, living out of a hotel together, like in those first few years, like that's pretty impressive. And you guys were at the same company whenever you were doing that, right?
Yeah, we were. We didn't always have the same clients when we were contract landmen, but we'd make the drive from Austin to Lubbock or Austin to Midland together. So we had a lot of time on the road together. We've got a lot of duets that we're pretty good with from that time in the car. She sings like an angel and I just sing, but there was a lot of windshield time. The first time I ever did my taxes with the CPA I had at the time, he called me to basically warn me that like frauding of IRS is like very frowned upon. And I'm like, no, I've got the mileage clock. Like I really did. He's like, you drove more miles than a truck driver. I got a truck driver with a nice collared shirt as a field landman is kind of what you feel like sometimes.
Good night. So whenever you guys were on the road and you're doing those long drives and everything, what do you think was there one thing, like whenever you're doing leasing or doing the like curative and like, or talking to landowners, like you went through a lot of this together of going knocking on doors and everything. Was there anything that she really had a strength in that you really leaned on? And then in the counterpart to that, was there anything that maybe she looked at you kind of as the strength of where you guys complemented each other with different styles?
Yeah, we definitely have different styles. She's not an introvert, but she's more introverted than me. She's done a lot of curative, hasn't done as much of the acquisition stuff. She thinks that she wouldn't be good at it. I think she'd crush it. She's definitely probably more suited to like a 9-month run sheet on something that's like meticulous and you just chip away at the mountain and forever. And I think I'm more like a little bit of a squirrel chaser in my head. I like it to like be changing all the time. I like the people aspect. And so in terms of leaning on her, like I think I lean on her for like her confidence and her ability to not like blow things out of proportion or think about it a little more calmly than I might. I think we both kind of landed where we were supposed to land in terms of like our strengths.
That's fantastic. And then the last thing that I want to ask you about on the road was you were right. I mean, you're coming out of school and you're right in the middle of just what you said of right when the Barnett shell's taking off. And I mean, those were some of the absolutely most exciting leasing years that I can remember. And then right after that, it was, I think, Chesapeake leasing over in Shreveport and Bossier City and everything for the Haynesville. But whenever you were doing the Barnett and walking around and talking to different people, do you remember any interaction that stood out? We've had people that have talked to us on the show about getting a shotgun shot across the front of the hood of their car. And I know you were more like in the city, so probably none of that. But do you remember any interaction that got a little heated or a little contentious?
I distinctly remember being called, myself and my other buddy who's actually half Hispanic that was with us, being called White Devil by this lady. Like the white devil's here to steal our oil. One guy was adamant that like we were going to actually drill on his home, like at his house in his front yard type of scenario. You see crazy stuff at urban leasing. I knocked on a door one time of a house in South Texas in like a rough area of I think Kennedy, and grandma opens the door. I speak Spanish, but she didn't want to talk. So she kind of closes the door, and then another guy comes out and he's rocking like a bandana and he's got dimes right here in both his ears, like just sitting in his house. He had like dimes placed in his ears. I've never seen that again before. I don't know if it was some kind of gang thing or what, but and I've also signed an oil and gas lease when I saw like a narcotics deal going on.
Nice.
In Fort Worth.
That's fantastic.
Like it happened right before I walked up. The guy knew I was coming and did not care. And it was like going on the hood of his car. He's wearing a backpack, standing outside. And yeah, he signed the oil and gas lease, and I notarized it right there and got out of there. And so yeah, you see some stuff. I had to. Another time, I took a bag of cash to a guy who didn't want his lease in a check, and he didn't want to deal. He didn't want to deal with the white guys and other kind of. Which I mean, I don't know, but like you do see it occasionally, and that's all about like that building trust. His son was there. The guy's saying, like, get off my property. I'm like, well, you've already sent us a lease. We have to pay you in order to record it. So I left the money with the son, and like the son's like nearly to tears because the guy's just like cussing me out. And like it's not something that's uncommon in field land work. Or I mean, I'm sure that happens to anybody that's forward facing with owners. I bet that happens to DO and
For sure.
other groups as well, because you deal with people and people are crazy. It's in some instances, especially people that are dealing with money. Money gets the greed out in people and makes it kind of iffy sometimes.
It absolutely changes so much of the complexion of the conversations. Yeah, I remember so much of that. I remember doing the big leasing like at the state fairgrounds at Bossier City, I think. And it was all about like, I mean, what you're saying, what it kind of boils down to is it's about the communication. It's about being able to talk to people on whatever level that they're coming to you with, and then being able to explain like, whatever angst or whatever just anger that they have towards what they understand the situation to be able to give them enough information and to be able to talk to them just like they're on common ground more than
Yeah,
anything. And I think I enjoyed that part so much more of whenever it would start off and it would be so angry and it'd be so like, I mean, calling you every name in the book. But if you could get them to smile at the end of it and to be able to talk to those people and to be able to see maybe that face change like midway through the conversation and at the end they're shaking your hand or, only
sure.
wanting to deal with you. That I always thought that was a pretty crowning moment for sure.
Rhett, in all of your journeys of, making sure that you stayed employed or stayed working, you showed a lot of tenacity that was there. There's a lot of people that, you know, struggle from time to time on being able to find a position or what their next gig is going to be. What advice would you have for those folks?
Yeah, great question. I think try to find ways to stand out. I don't know if that's printing your resume on pink paper or I think you need to leverage online resources. I think LinkedIn can be helpful. The job board, the Indeeds, your local organizations. If we're speaking towards landmen, I think that's a great place to start. You can't do just that. You can't do any of these things solo. It's an all fronts type of thing. It needs to be your full time job. You need to make checklists and goals and be repetitive about your follow ups. Handwritten notes can help. I think you got to get in a cohort of other people that are supportive of you and have either done that recently or have a lot of ties. You can make relationships with headhunters, maybe by forwarding them potential leads. Maybe they'll help you out. And so I don't think there's one answer there, Jairus. I think it's you have to be consistent across the whole gambit. It's unfortunate for some people because not everybody is a people person. It's a lot of who you know. If it comes down to two identical resumes and one person's got two stellar references, I think we know which one's going to stand out there. And so, I think it's stay positive, get a community around you, constantly do reflections and be consistent with it and not get burned out and not fall into this like depression loop or something that's it's pretty easily done, especially when bills are mounting and it's tough. And, I know a lot of good people that have been looking for a year or more. And, maybe they found some part-time stuff or maybe they found, maybe they're doing some stuff on their own until then. But, and then maybe the last point is maybe stay out in front of that a little bit. If you all of a sudden start coming out of the woodwork and you never networked before, and then all of a sudden you're just the biggest brown nose there is to anybody and everybody that's successful in your network, you're going to come across as like, little dishonest, little ingenuine,
Yeah.
and start cultivating those relationships now. Keep your resume current. I mean, we all know groups that we thought would have been around forever that are no longer. And there's a lot of people there that thought they'd retire at some of these shops. And not only is that not the norm in our industry anymore, I don't think it's the norm in our world anymore. And
You're right.
so, I think it's important to stay out in front of that.
Yeah. What are some events or ways that you recommend that people do in order to network and to build that circle?
SPE, AAPL, local chapters and things like that, I think are a great starting point because these people are in your community, both professionally and physically. I think that's a great starting point. But again, it can't be your only. You can't show up and just because you got a few friends at Friday lunches, you expect that they're going to hire you or that they immediately know of something that's available. Anything that I think that you can break down the kind of formal barrier and get to know people a little better or show off. So I think focus on ones that you're going to be able to get like face to face. And sometimes it's pretty easy to see from like sponsor lists, past attendee list if they share it, people's LinkedIn posts as to what they're doing or something else. You got to be a little bit of a product investigator here and get out in front of these people and position yourself in a place both physically and professionally that would allow those stars to align. Like it's like, maybe fate's real, but some of it's still controlled by you. You still got to carry yourself well. You still got to have good enough references at all your past jobs because they're going to call them.
Right.
Like they're going to call them. And if you burned a bunch of bridges at your last spot,
it's not going to go as well by any stretch. I completely agree with you. And I think it's one of those things of like, if I went to Vegas, terrible at Vegas, I'm awful at gambling, but if I have the ability to make the deck lean in my favor, I wouldn't gamble on anybody else but myself. And I think it's that you have to have that little bit of confidence in there. And that doesn't come natural for a lot of people. And what I always,
especially when you're in that spiral.
That's exactly right. It's hard, and it's not an easy thing to develop, but just like how you said, you've got a 5-year-old kid pretty soon starting school and everything. And I think we all remember starting school is a hard thing to do, and you don't know anybody, and you go out and it's daunting sitting around people that you don't know. But you look at that same kid 6 months down the road, and they see all their friends, and they love being around everybody, and they really enjoy what they're doing. And I always thought about that's kind of the same way with, what we're even doing now of going to a luncheon or going and meeting new people. It's not easy. And it's hard to start a conversation with people, but you find the more often that you do it, the easier it starts getting the next times that you get in those same, situations. And after a while, it's kind of a really joyful part of the business, of going out and finding out the stories of different people and where they came from. And then you start seeing all the people that come out of the woodwork to want to help you. So I don't know. It's a good thing. Do you think that, I know with Riverbend, you guys have always been very tech and forward tech focused. You're talking about a lot of people looking for, work in the industry and everything. Do you continue to see the patterns of how people are using AI and leaning on these different large language models? You can continue to see that disrupting it, or do you see that maybe in a different way of it empowering different companies and causing more jobs in the future?
It's probably a little bit of a mix. There's some things that is definitely disrupting a little bit. And, you could talk to people, Josh, a lot more than I do about the space, but, you could talk to people. I've heard, I heard an example a week or two ago that said that this one general counsel's outside counsel usage had dropped by about 40% from the year prior, with a pretty similar workload from just being able to quickly digest and help, do some, especially like contract, there's always going to be complex things and there's always going to be at least somewhat of a human element needed. We hear it. Like I think Chevron's doing another round of layoffs here coming up. Their COP and Devin and several others just did quite a few. So there's good talent, very, very good talent out on the streets right now. I don't think a lot of the big box exploration companies are going to do as much hiring in the future because the people that they do have a lot better tools at their utility, which I hate to see that, but I don't know. There's silver linings to everything. Everybody ties this back to like industrial revolution type of scenarios. And, just because we're using machines doesn't mean that the jobs go away. They just change. You just got to learn to adapt and use it and leverage it and be, you were talking about what do you do to stand out? Like build some tools on AI, build your own website that says this is Rhett Reeves, landman.com or whatever. Come check me out. Put that on your resume for people to click on. Leverage these things that no generation prior has ever been able to to have at their disposal. And don't be the old guy in the room that just crosses his arm and says, I'm not doing that. I'm using a yellow pad and I'm not going to change.
You got to adapt. That's right. Garris, what do you think? Are you trying to buy Rhett Reeves landman.com before he can get to it?
I am. Yeah. Nailed it. By the way, the 3 Paddington movies.
Tell me.
96% for Paddington 1.
Okay.
99% for Paddington 2. And a 90.
He made a negative. He made a negative review in the meantime and brought it down.
Did? Oh,
I know what happened here. I heard you click in.
And
that's
what it was. 94% for Paddington in Peru.
I don't consider that one canon.
How do they land there?
I don't know. I don't know how Paddington gets anywhere. He's truly a magical young bear. No, if we've taken anything from this, the main thing is and Rhett, we're so happy that you joined us today. And like this is always so good to be able to hear the story of how someone was able to come up and just kind of grow in the business. Amazing that you and your wife both have been doing this, and you have this level of success that you've got. It really is a testament to people that find ways to just make a name for themselves and continue to push no matter what the industry throws at you. So I think adaptability is the name of the game. And then the second thing is everyone needs to go watch Paddington 2. Those are the only things I can leave people with.
That's it. That's how you close it out right there.
That's an excellent way to leave this. Well, Rhett, really thank you for being here. And for Jarris Johnson, for Drew Hopkins, for Rhett Reeves, landman.com. We'll see you next time. Take care.